Welcome back to Game Galaxy, and today I wanted to talk and share with you something I wanted to talk about for a long time, and that's retro video game console cases for your Raspberry Pi. Now, I've mentioned Raspberry Pi here on the channel before and talked about what it is. For those who don't know, Raspberry Pi is a little Linux computer that you can turn into an emulation machine for old games, and it has USB ports, so it's perfect for USB controllers or Bluetooth controllers. So, without any further ado, I want to just start with this one, which is a little Nintendo style one. Look at how adorable this is. This was created by a company. They originally called Old School Tools. They've since changed their name to Kintaro. And this was a long favorite of mine. I'm going to get it right in the camera here so you can see, and I'm dropping the other ones that were in my lap. But I'm going to get that right up there. You can see if I can get this camera to focus here. That if I lift there are my ports for my controllers. Turn this on the side, we've got our HDMI port, power, and that would be your headphone jack or an AV breakout cable if you had one. And the SD card is right in the back there. Little vents there. And this is just a nice little case. It's just adorable, you know, there's no power buttons or anything fancy. And this was a favorite of mine for a long time. And I used this case for a long time, and I made it for tons of other people who I made Raspberry Pis for. I gave them this case. Then my friend was expressing interest in the re-release of the Super Nintendo Classic, and you know, of course, as soon as it happened, it got sold out and he's not able to get one. So I just said, hey dude, I had no idea you were into that stuff. I've mentioned, and you've been to my house, we've played on the Raspberry Pi, why didn't you just ask me to do one for you? So anyway, long story short, I did, and he was more interested in a Super Nintendo look. And I'd seen the cases pop up here and there, but I just, you know, I was content with this. Old School Tools, like I said, changed their name to Kintaro, and they have the Super Akuma 9000, which is a Super Nintendo designed case. It's absolutely gorgeous. What's cool about this one, it has working power and reset buttons, and look at this, you can push it up, and inside there's a PCB board that totally controls, with a script you can install on this thing, a safe turn on and a safe turn off, as well as a safe reset, and that's spring loaded, just like a real Super Nintendo. Now, on the side here, this is where you put your controllers. On the back, HDMI, power, and all of that. But this one is just gorgeous, and for the record, this case is now what I use for my Raspberry Pi, and it's now my favorite one to use. So absolutely great option. But there was another one that popped up, and it was made by a company called Basetop, and that's this case right here. This one, what's interesting about this one is that it has two forward-facing USB ports, and that's really cool. If I spin this thing around, you see there's no exposed USB ports like there are on this Super Akuma one, where you can kind of see all these holes. This one, it only has holes for the HDMI, power, and then on the front, your two controllers. Now, there is a little side door here. If you need additional controllers, that's where you would put them. But I'm going to shove this in your face here. And I really liked the idea of front-facing ports on this because it kind of looks cleaner to have your controllers come out of the front and then your cords come out the back here. But I was reading, you know, some of the reviews on Amazon said, oh, this thing, you know, it overheats or low voltage. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna buy one and I'm gonna test it. And look, I extensively tested two of these. Long hours of play, never had it. You do have to connect some wiring to the GPIO pins, and I just think that person must not have done it properly. So the Basetop case has pros and cons, and obviously the pro are these front-facing USB ports. I really like that feature. The negative is that these power and reset buttons are not safe to use. They do not use the script at all. This is a hard power on and a hard power off. So it's totally cool to turn it on with the power, but when you're done playing, you want to, you know, shut down your Pi safely from the RetroPie menu and click Shutdown System. If you cut the power, most likely nothing's going to happen, but you do run the risk of corrupting your SD card, and that would not be cool. So same with the reset. All the reset is doing is cutting the power and turning it back on, so it's just the same as a hard shutout. or in other words, it's the same as ripping the power out of the back, which you never want to do with any kind of computer or device, because if it happens to be writing in the moment, it could corrupt the card. And you just don't want that, especially if you yourself have taken the time to do a build. You know, boom, there goes your thing. Always make a Raspberry Pi backup image if you've spent a lot of time into it. But yeah, these are really cool. Like I said, this one is simple. It's the smallest, very cool and neat. I was, you know, a while ago I was thinking of giving one of these away. I still might do that. But all in all, you know, I'd have to say nowadays my favorite case is the Super Kintaro, I can't even talk, Super Akuma 9000. Just because its proportions are absolutely beautiful. You can see when next to each other, this one's more aesthetically pleasing, and this is the Super Akuma 9000 by Kintaro. And having these working power buttons that are safe to use, you know, occasionally I'll turn this one on and it won't do anything, and I will have to come to the back here and, you know, plug the power in and out, and, you know, then it'll be fine. But these are just cool options, so I just wanted to share with these. There'll be links for all of these cases in the description if you're interested in purchasing them yourself. I highly recommend all of them. They all have their pros and cons and are all very cool and add a nice little touch to your Raspberry Pi setup. You know, and the thing is that I'm very sad that there is no Sega Love out here. These are all Nintendo cases. And I'm like, where's the Genesis one? I saw online there's this, like, they came out with this Genesis USB hub that people mod and then you can do it, but you know, I would love to see some love for Sega Genesis or some other systems, or a little Atari, you know, as well. There's so many. I think there's a good business here. So I hope Kintaro does that, because obviously I love their first effort, which led me to them, which was this one here, and now I'm completely in love with this one. But if you know me, I have always hated the North America Super Nintendo design. I thought the European and Japanese design is way cooler, looks way more fun and enticing to play with those colors. And the good news is Kintaro did make a European style, Super Famicom style case. I don't know if it's widely available yet. It was available for pre-order. I think those may be closed now. I did pre-order one, so whenever I get one, I'll be sure to show it here on the channel. And when I get one, I'm probably gonna take my Pi out of this one and place it in that case and use that as my case, because then it'll match the controller I use, which is always that iBuffalo one that I've showed many times before. So yeah, links for these are in the description if you want. Get these, it totally adds a flair, and maybe you can ease the pain of that loved one if you want to use my video or ETA Prime's video on how to set up a Pi. Ease the pain of somebody who's not able to get those SNES classics or whatever. Thanks for watching me blab on about these cases, and I hope you enjoyed watching. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any videos in the future, and I'll see you next time.